Welcome back to the deep dive. It is so good to have you here. We are continuing our journey through the mechanics of money.
We are.
Specifically, we're looking at this whole engineered path to financial independence. And I have to say, if you were with us for the last deep dive, we spent a lot of time up in the clouds.
We did. It was, it was necessary, though.
Oh, absolutely. We were unpacking stage one, which is all about the psychological foundation.
Yeah.
We talked about, shifting your identity from employee to asset owner, defining your personal vision. It was very internal.
Mm-hmm. It was about who you are.
Exactly. But today feels different. Today feels like we are, I don't know, crash landing into reality.
That's a pretty fair way to put it. We are crossing a major threshold today.
A big one.
A very big one. We're moving from stage one into stage two, building financial resilience. And to do that, we're going to cover steps 3 and 4 combined.
Which are financial mapping and the conscious budget. Now, usually we take these steps one by one. Why are we mashing these two together?
Because functionally, they're completely inseparable. Think of it like a medical diagnosis.
Okay.
Step 3, the financial map. That's the diagnosis. It's the blood test, it's the x-ray. Step 4, the budget, well, that's the treatment plan. You can't, and you really shouldn't prescribe a treatment without understanding the condition first.
That makes total sense. You wouldn't trust a doctor who just handed you pills without even looking at your chart.
Exactly. It would be malpractice. Yet, that is precisely how most of us try to handle our money. We try to fix our spending or, set up a budget without ever really looking at the raw data of where we are right now.
And there's a great line in the source material that just sums this up perfectly. You can't fix what you can't see.
That is the core philosophy of this whole stage.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts, and we are going to get very specific today about things like the Tuesday pattern and how to handle a massive restaurant bill, we need to set the context on the architect behind this system.
Right.
Because his background, it really dictates why this all works the way it does.
Right. So we are analyzing the 3 stages, 13 Steps to Financial Independence, which was developed by Tamir Kam. Now, Tamir is, he's fascinating because he is not your typical finance guru. He brings a very specific dual lens to all this.
He's an engineer, right?
Yes, a systems engineer. But he's also the official Hebrew translator of the richest man in Babylon.
Wow. Which is like the holy grail of ancient financial wisdom.
Exactly. So what you get with the Golden Path strategy is this collision of modern systems engineering, flowcharts, data, feedback loops, with ancient, timeless wisdom. He treats money not as this mystical force that you hope likes you, but as a system.
A system that can be designed.
A system that can be designed.
I love that. And for anyone who wants to see the visual side of this, because the flowcharts are really, really helpful, you should check out his work. The YouTube channel is The Golden Path to Financial Independence.
And the handle is @Tamir Goldpath.
Right, @Tamir Goldpath. Okay, so let's apply that engineering lens to stage 2. We need to be clear about who we're talking to here. This isn't for the person who's already a tycoon, is it?
No, not at all. This strategy is designed very specifically for the salaried individual, the person who is currently in financial dependence, which just means they rely on a paycheck to survive, and wants to move to asset ownership.
And there's a mandatory distinction we have to make here, one that the source material really emphasizes. We need to distinguish between financial independence and wealth.
This is so crucial. I think most people use those terms interchangeably. If you ask someone, do you want to be financially independent? They hear, do you want to be rich?
Do you want a yacht?
Exactly. But in this engineering model, there are 2 totally different targets. Financial independence, or FI, is a specific binary state. It's the moment where your passive income from your assets covers your living expenses.
So if my life costs, say, $4,000 a month and my assets pay me $4,000 a month, I'm independent.
You're free. Work becomes optional. That is the first goal. Wealth, on the other hand, is having a massive surplus of capital way beyond your needs. That comes later. Stage 2 isn't about buying the private island next week.
Right.
It's about building the resilience that makes independence even possible.
Stability comes before growth.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Step 3, financial mapping. You called this the diagnosis, but let's be honest. This is where the friction really starts. Stage 1 was dreaming. Stage 2 is opening the banking app.
And for a lot of people, that is physically painful.
It really is. The source material calls it the ostrich effect.
The ostrich effect is incredibly common. It's that instinct to just bury your head in the sand because you're afraid of what you'll find if you look. You have this fuzzy sense that money is disappearing at the end of the month. You know the credit card balance is creeping up. But as long as you don't look at the specific line items, you can maintain this plausible deniability.
It's the magical disappearing paycheck. You know it's gone, but if you don't look at the statement, you can kind of pretend it didn't happen.
But here is where the systems engineering lens changes everything. Tamir teaches that financial instability is not a moral failure.
Okay, wait, unpack that, because I think most people feel a lot of shame when they see a mess in their accounts.
It's a system design problem. That shame is what keeps the ostrich head in the sand. We think, I'm bad with money or I'm just irresponsible. But an engineer doesn't look at a broken machine and say, bad machine.
Right.
They ask, where's the leak?
I really like that reframe. It takes all the emotion out of it.
It has to. Think about that medical checkup analogy again. When a doctor measures your blood pressure and sees it's high, they aren't judging your worth as a human being.
They're not saying you're a bad person.
Not at all. They are just gathering data so they can intervene. It is clinical, not moral. Step 3 is about putting on your lab coat and just looking at the data.
So we're diagnosing the patient. The source material uses this really great metaphor for the process, the lighthouse.
Yes. This is probably my favorite metaphor in this entire stage. Imagine you are a ship in a storm. It's dark, the waves are high, a lighthouse. It doesn't stop the storm. It doesn't lower the waves.
Doesn't put money in your account?
No.
Yeah.
What it does is it illuminates the rocks. It shows you exactly where the holes in your ship are so you can navigate around them. If you don't turn on that light, you're just crashing around in the dark hoping you don't sink.
Step 3 is turning on the light.
That's it.
So let's turn on the light. What does a full financial map actually look like? It's not just, checking your balance.
No, a balance is just a snapshot. A map is a full schematic. You need 5 things. First, all your income sources. Second, your fixed expenses, the stuff that hits every month like clockwork, rent, mortgage, insurance.
Non-negotiables.
Right. Third, and this is a tricky one, your variable expenses.
The skeletons in the closet.
Oh, exactly. The gym membership you haven't used in 8 months. The streaming services you forgot you even had. The random Amazon purchases. This is where all the leakage happens. Fourth is your assets, and fifth is your liabilities, your debts. You need the whole picture.
When you talk about variable expenses, that's where the psychology really kicks in. The source talks about self-transparency. It's not just seeing what you spent, but trying to understand why.
That's the absolute key to the whole stage. You aren't just an accountant here. You're a detective. You are looking for patterns in your own behavior.
There's a specific example in the notes that I found. Well, it was really relatable. They call it the Tuesday pattern.
Ah, the Tuesday pattern. It's a classic example of an emotional trigger.
So picture this. You're reviewing your map in step 3, and you notice a trend. You spend $50 on food delivery every single Tuesday, every week. Now, on the surface, that looks like a food expense.
I have to eat, right?
Right. But self-transparency asks you to dig a little deeper. Why Tuesday? Why delivery?
And when you look at your calendar, you realize...
Tuesday is the day you have that terrible, stressful meeting with your boss.
Exactly. You are depleted. You come home exhausted, anxious, maybe a little beat up. You are not buying pizza because you're starving. You could make a sandwich in 5 minutes. You are buying stress relief.
You're paying $50 to soothe your nerves.
And that is the breakthrough. Once you see that mechanism, once the lighthouse illuminates that specific rock, you move from being a passenger where money just happens to you to being the pilot.
Right.
You can say, okay, I need stress relief on Tuesdays. Is there a way to get that relief that doesn't cost me $200 a month and completely derail my financial independence?
Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a hot bath, maybe it's just meal prepping on Sunday so dinner is ready.
Yeah.
But the point is, now you have the choice.
Exactly. It puts the agency right back in your hands. You stop being the victim of your own habit.
That agency is what lets us move to step 4.
Yeah.
Because once you have the map, the GPS showing you where you are,
Yeah.
you need a way to steer the car, and that is the conscious budget. Okay, stop right there. We have to address the branding problem here. The word budget. It has terrible PR.
It really does. It's up there with root canal and audit.
I mean, when people hear budget, they think diet, they think restriction, misery, I can't have nice things anymore.
And that is the single biggest misconception we have to clear up. In the Golden Path strategy, a conscious budget is not a prison. It is permission.
Permission to spend.
Yes, permission to spend on the things that actually matter to you. A conscious budget is just a tool that helps you say yes to your values and no to your impulses. It's not about starving yourself. It's about directing your resources intentionally.
So if step 3 is the GPS telling you you are here, step 4 is the steering wheel, making sure you actually drive toward your destination instead of, off a cliff.
Exactly. And to do that, you have to categorize your spending. You can't just have one big pile of money. The strategy breaks it down into 3 specific buckets: needs, conscious wants, and impulses.
Let's break those down. Needs are obvious. Survival, rent, groceries, keeping the lights on.
Right. Non-negotiables. If you don't pay these, you're on the street.
Then you have conscious wants.
Yeah.
This is the good stuff, right? This is the fun part.
This is the stuff that brings genuine value and joy to your life. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's travel, maybe it's a really nice dinner with friends. The key is that it is intentional. You planned for it, and it aligns with your vision.
And then there's the villain of the story, the impulses.
The impulses. This is all the reactive spending. This is the lukewarm pizza you ordered just because you were lazy. This is buying something just because it was 50% off even though you didn't need it. This is status spending to impress people you don't even like. This is waste.
I want to play devil's advocate here for a second because I can hear a listener thinking, okay, but if I want to be an asset owner, does that mean I can never go to a steakhouse? Do I have to live on rice and beans until I'm 60?
Absolutely not. In fact, an asset owner might enjoy that steakhouse even more than someone who is broke.
How does that work?
The question isn't, is the steak expensive? The question is it a conscious want? If going to that steakhouse brings you deep connection with your family and you have allocated money for it, then go. Enjoy it, guilt-free.
Because it's in the plan.
Because it's in the plan. The problem is not the steakhouse. The problem is going to the steakhouse on an impulse, putting it on a credit card, and then stressing about it for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
That stress, it ruins the taste of the steak anyway.
There is a really concrete example in the source material that illustrates this math perfectly. It's the $1,000 restaurant bill scenario.
This is such a great way to visualize it. Let's say you map your finances in step 3, and you realize you are spending $1,000 a month on food and dining out.
Wow.
Now, the old school budget advice would just be stop it, cut it to 0, eat at home.
Which lasts about 2 weeks before you snap and eat everything in sight.
Exactly. It fails because it's a starvation diet.
Yeah.
The golden path approach is to analyze that $1,000. So maybe you look at it and say, okay, 200 of that was an absolute need lunches at work when I couldn't pack. Fine. Then you look deeper and see 500 of that was spent on amazing dinners with friends that I truly loved.
That's the conscious want, so you keep that.
Keep that. Do not cut the joy. But then you find the other $300, and that was the impulse spending. The coffee you didn't even want, the takeout because you just felt lazy. That is the fat you trim.
So the result is you're still spending $700 on food. You aren't miserable at all. In fact, you're probably enjoying that $500 worth of dining more because there's no guilt attached.
Precisely. And that $300 you recovered, that doesn't just vanish. You redirect it into financial independence units, savings, assets, paying down debt. You are funding your future with the money you used to waste on impulses.
That is such a powerful shift. It's not about spending less. It's about spending efficiently. It's systems engineering applied to your wallet.
It really is. You stop being an employee of your money and you start being the owner of it.
So what does this all mean for the listener right now? We've got the map. We've got the budget. It sounds like a lot of work.
It is work, but it's the most valuable work you can do. It's the foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on a swamp. Step 3 drains the swamp, and step 4 pours the concrete foundation. If you skip this, everything you try to build, later investing, real estate, it'll all just sink.
Before we wrap up with some practical steps, we have to handle the mandatory disclaimer.
Yeah.
We're talking about money here, and we need to be responsible.
Absolutely. So please remember, this content is strictly educational. It shares frameworks and principles to expand your thinking. It is not personalized financial, investment, tax, or legal advice.
Right.
And the fact that this strategy worked for Tamir Kaham does not mean it will work for you in the same way. Everyone's circumstances, their risk tolerance, their execution, it's all different. You are responsible for evaluating what applies to you and for consulting qualified professionals. There are no guarantees.
Thank you for that. It is so important to keep expectations grounded. So let's summarize the key takeaways from today's deep dive.
If you take 2 things away, let them be the metaphors. Step 3 is turning on the lighthouse. You have to map your reality without judgment. And step 4 is grabbing the steering wheel. You have to budget for your values and eliminate the impulses.
And we like to leave you with a practical challenge. We aren't just here to entertain, we want you to move forward. So, for this week, block 1 hour. Just 1 single hour.
That's it. Create the map, dig up those skeletons, and then categorize your expenses into those 3 buckets: needs, conscious wants, and impulses. Just see how much impulse money you can find to redirect toward your freedom.
It's amazing what you find when you actually look. If you want to see the visuals for this or dives deeper into the source material, where should people go?
You should definitely check out the YouTube channel. It's called The Golden Path to Financial Independence, and the handle is @TamirGoldPath.
That's at Tamir Goldpath.
Correct. There are some great visual breakdowns of all these concepts there.
Next time on the deep dive, we are moving to step 5. We've mapped the system, we've grabbed the steering wheel, but now we have to stop the bleeding. We're going to talk about cash flow stabilization and eliminating overdrafts.
That's crucial. You can't fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. Step 5 is all about plugging the hole so the water level can finally start to rise.
I can't wait for that one. Before we go, here's a final thought to chew on. We talked about the Tuesday pattern, spending money to soothe stress. My question for you is, what is your Tuesday? What is the one emotion, boredom, loneliness, anxiety that costs you the most money every single month? Identifying that might be worth more than any stock tip you ever hear.
That's a great question.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
2025 Tamir Kaham. All rights reserved. The Golden Path and the Golden Path to FI are trademarks of Tamir Kaham.